So I'm bringing back all of the people I've known, past, present, and future. And one of my earlier guests, Alaina Dorsey, is here. What's up, Alaina?
Not much. It was good.
Causing chaos and mayhem wherever I go.
Well, I guess I do the opposite of that.
Order and solitude.
um, it's just a flow. That's the wave. That's just the wave right now. Lots of watery language. Lots of watery language.
I noticed that. Lots of water language. So let's get a little specific. So you decided to combine art and cannabis, right? So that's what you're focusing on, right? So what led to that?
Um, so I did get started as I feel like I tell this story a bajillion times. But
I promise it'll go somewhere different. Solemnly swear.
so I got started in cannabis August 2018. Got started with doing copywriting, doing blog posts, writing websites, eventually started doing social media posts. Pretty much got a feel for the market, I'd say from a national standpoint. Um I live in Maryland. Most of my clients have been outside of Maryland.
Yep.
So, got a feel for the industry and decided to take a stab at seeing what the art side of things will be like because I want to get good at art and why not get paid doing it? And yeah, my outlook on art is, I mean, as a service, being more business minded, thinking of the value that it can offer long term for the people I'm working with. So that is my angle.
Well, that okay, but I guess I'm going to ask the deep question right off the bat. What do you, when it comes to art, what do you give a shit about?
Right now, just getting better.
Just getting better.
Like
So
that's all that matters.
okay, I'm sorry. It just sounds like I'm trying to be contrary or quaint. Define better. Like better technically, better storyteller, better.
I mean, because there's all those different aspects of it. To me, that's doing all of it. It's just that what from a standpoint of what I'm doing for businesses, it's what being better at that, I mean, at that point, I don't know if it's really a skill thing so much as I know how to sell art. And that's the service provider aspect of it is I want to know how to sell art. I want to make sure art has a value that I'm able to make a living off of it.
Totally
But
understandable.
yeah, so beyond that, ultimately, like if I'm going to be spending most of my time making income, it's in something that I want to learn how to do. But I guess my thing is there's different skills I know I'm going to be learning along the way. So it's just that I don't know, the experimenting aspect of it.
Okay.
That was a lot of words,
It
but
was a
that's how I
lot.
feel.
It was a lot of words. What I am seeking when I ask these questions is clarity. Like get a sense of what you want. Because if I get a sense of what you want, I can how do I put this? I can understand. Right. I'm trying to understand. Right. So for me, for example, I've been dabbling in drawing for about 3 years now. I'm almost good. Almost. Right.
Mm,
Not quite where I want to be. So specifically for me, what it's about is um, I want to be able to tell stories with art because if I can tell stories with art, I can do comics, I can do graphic novels, I can do storyboards, I can improve my storytelling skill set, and that's valuable because every time you go down the street, like the business end of writing is right, there is story everywhere.
mm-hmm.
Story is what connects us all. It is the most useful. It is one of the most useful things in the world when it comes to communication right? You with like I said, And in the last few years, I've been trying to make a living doing this writing, art stuff, and figuring out kind of what fits. I've been going into the more visual stuff in terms of video production,
Mm-hmm.
draw. Like I still write stuff. I still write for clients, but it's one of the things I do. Um, I do have to put more time writing. Everything else has been there. I've been learning all these skills, and now for me, it's about focusing on how best I want to serve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I want to help people tell their story, which could be a variety of different ways. But for me, in terms of business, it's advertising for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I figured it would work. Everybody needs to get their message out there, and when times are good, you get your message out there. When times are bad, you gotta get it out more, because that's the nature of advertising. And and it's also the nature of business too, right? When times are good, people seek people will have money to spend, but everybody it's more variety. But when times are bad, people don't always have money, but when they do, they're going to go to where they're aware of. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So those are the skills I've been focusing on. Better storytelling, because the better storytelling I have, the better I can connect with people. The better I connect with people, um, the better I connect with people. The better I can, um, the better I can sell. Not only sell, but the better I can develop relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's what I've been focusing on getting better on, because that to me is ironically the stuff that sells the best is the stuff is most personable to people. Ironically.
No, for sure. Like, I mean, I'm taking a more as simple a path as possible. So this is what I want to do. I see a need for it,
Oh yeah.
and we'll see what happens. Mainly, I was gonna focus on just doing merchandise, potentially helping in the process of setting up a print on demand store to help the companies to, you know, make merchandise that's turning people into walking billboards of the brand, but also, helping to generate the revenue. But I didn't want to get that in depth. So I've just decided to widen the type of art that I'm doing. And I guess I'm just pretty flexible as far as what it is, as long as it's a part of increasing brand visibility, helping with the brand awareness process, and or a potential source for revenue. That's all I care about.
I get that. I get that big time. Right. It's a how do we put this? Um, it's necessary. Like, again, it's how much work you want to do on something too, right? Because it's investing in that kind of, like what you're talking about there, is a huge time investment. And if you don't really want to do it, it's hell.
And I mean that's a part of like why I do it is if there's not much thought about putting much into, the art is a nice to have, then to me okay, it's not of much value to your business. So if you're gonna hire artists, the main thing to me is like, okay, it has to line up with your business goals. It
Mm-hmm.
has to be something that you can actually calculate an ROI for.
Yep. Well, it's also about, like, okay, so if we're talking like from a small business level, one of the things I give is small businesses is they suck at advertising, right?
Hmm.
A lot of them suck at it. And the thing is, okay, so The question then becomes, what can a small business do to get more notoriety and attention? Now, there's a couple ways a small business can do it. One way is be specialized, so specialized that they're really good at it, like they're literally the only person in their field. Because if you're in that situation, then advertising doesn't really matter. People will find you, right? People will find you when they need you. But if you're not in that position, which isn't for the vast majority of us, we all have skills that other people have. Then the big challenge is to draw attention to ourselves. Small businesses have huge advantages over big businesses, among them speed and mobility. They can be faster.
Hmm.
So, but the challenge small businesses have is how much investment they can do to get people to know they're there. Artists struggle with this as businesses as well. How are we going to get out there in a way that people will be aware we exist? That is one of the biggest problems a lot of artists face. But you need to advertise, because if you don't, you're putting yourself in a position where you're not going to succeed. And the small businesses that do best smarter advertising tend to last longer.
For sure. Do you primarily work with small businesses?
I've worked with some small businesses, but I've also worked with other like artists and clients, and I've interviewed quite a few of them, and I can honestly this by listening to I can listen to a writer or an artist, and I can listen to their views on advertising, and that can tells me or how much they talk about themselves in terms of what they offer, their services, right? How specific they're this what I listen for is specificity. Like, how specific are you with what you're doing? Because the more specific, the more you know about what you're doing, the more likely you're going to be able to make an offer that people can understand,
Hmm.
right? Whether that's a book, whether that's a service, right? It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't really matter. What matters is the more specific you are, the more you can communicate your intentions and your ideas, the better people will understand what you're doing, right? And I can go to a small business, I can look at a billboard sign, and I can tell how much they've thought about advertising. And some stores, it's not a huge deal. Like, depending on what, again, it comes down to what your services are too. But for example, I go to a photocopy place and I see like the plainest signs in the world, because I know what you can do with a photocopy, even just a photocopier, right? Today, I'm like, if you're not going to show me what you can do with the front of your store, how do I know what you can do behind the store? Because you're not showing your value the way you should be. Again, some of that's money. I get that too. Like, there's a money aspect to it as well. Some of that's money sometimes, but and that's fine maybe when you're getting started. But as you keep going and going and going, there has to be some kind of investment in it. And if there's no investment in it, um, like it tends to be it tends to be like, how do I? It tends to really it kills you. It just kills you, because subconsciously, why am I going to invest in you if you don't even understand how to invest what you offer, or you're not taking the time to invest in yourself?
It's understandable.
Yeah. So like, I'm very, when I listen to people, and this goes back to the very beginning, this is why I hunt down specifics as much as possible with people, because the more specific you are, the more likely you've thought through what you're doing. And I say that not in like a terrible way, but I find the people that believe in themselves, or the people that believe in their work, have no problems being talking about it and what it does, the specifics, the how it works, why it works, right? What right? They've got no problem with that.
For sure.
Yeah. So when we go back to you, right? Right. When I was asking you what you're working on and trying to improve upon, because you see a value in art, right? So I guess the question I'll ask is this, right? Is what is like, when did you think about it in terms of value?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, getting paid. Like obviously, there when we put together a work, whatever we do. Last night I drew a magic card. Like I tried to, I my take on a magic card. I picked one at random and I tried to draw it. Right? I don't think I did that bad. No, I don't think it's great. It's just on level with the guy that drew it. I'm not there yet, but it wasn't bad. You could get I got the shape pretty well down. I got the image pretty much nailed down. I forgot that the tree at the background. I could have added that to make that a little bit more that image. But the dude sitting on the rock with the death scythe on there, that was pretty close. Now the value of that for me is yes, it improves my skills, shows me off my skills and what I can do, but also for me it's fun because I'm learning a new skill and I'm learning like how to see the shapes, how to put it together, how to tell a story, a bit of a story with it as well. Because I added my own pieces to it. I changed some of the color up, so it was a little bit more. Because I have a limited palette of colors. It's like what can I do to do that? There's different layers, different shades. I was experimenting with that a little bit, right? But for me, the goal, like the value of that was improve my skills, get better, and I was having fun. There wasn't like an intent to make a zillion dollars doing it. However, let's say I was trying to make money with this and I take it to the next level. Okay, now it's not just about copying a classic magic card anymore. It's about creating my own images from scratch. Right? And putting them out there for people to see like this is the cool shit I can do. Please come back. Please let me see what you're doing. Right? And that's the advertising aspect of it. And what's my offer? Okay, my offer would be to create an image illustration story, depending on what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
So for you, you went from a passion to like, I want to make a business out of it, right? So where did you like make the connection and make that connection? Also, like like when did you? And this is I think an important thing for every artist because a lot of artists don't think their work's worth very much. You don't believe that. You believe it's worth a lot. So where did that come from?
So, I mean, I get pretty broad with what art means. To
Oh,
me,
sure.
art can be anything that you are looking to be like a master at. Like
Mm-hmm.
there can be an art to, like you said, advertising. There's an art to advertising. There's an art to writing. We can get into everybody's an artist. Can everybody make a living as an artist? No. But is everybody an artist? Sure.
Yep.
But the things that you're great at, sure, you can be an artist at it. Like again, you say you do advertising, you could be an artist. You are a master or you are working towards mastering the art of advertising. So to me, it's those basic principles. I mean, I guess I speak in a very simplistic way as best I can, I guess. It's because I've been getting back into like Taoism. So that's just like having a harmony with things, the
Sure.
balance and the do and the don't. So all of that to say, you find elements of things within other things. So when it comes to something like art, there's elements of art in business. Like a piece of art, if somebody's saying, I want $10,000 for this original painting, is that not what you do in the market with establishing prices and value of things?
Absolutely.
And then on top of the fact that, even if you take the art and you put it on prints, if you put it on posters, if you put it on t-shirt, now it's a product. If you do your art in a certain way, to me that's your brand. How you interact with your audience as an artist is a part of your brand. Like all these elements that are in business are present in art. So to me, doing a custom piece of art for a business that's driven by their brand colors, whatever their business goals are, that's an investment for your business that you are potentially going to be making tons of money from in the long run, especially if you hire me to do like a t-shirt or something for merchandise. Okay, the base price of that starts at $1,000. You get a 1 year license, right? Which means you can put it on anything, you can sell it on anything. So you spent $1,000. Potentially, let's say you spend maybe another $1,000 to get the actual merch printed, to have it your shops, to have it pop-ups or something. Let's say you make $2,000. You made back the money that you invested within a year of doing that. Potentially you can make $5,000 depending on whatever your business goals are, whatever your focus is. So to me, if you're making a return on your investment from the work that I put in to help grow your brand, I'm influencing your business. So to me,
Mhm.
that's where the value comes in.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. No, and what you're saying there makes both ton of sense, right? And not to mention, like a factor you didn't mention entirely is your time in creating that image yourself, right? Your time in doing those things.
I
That's
mean, to
valuable.
me, that's a given.
Yeah. Some people. But some people don't think in those terms, right? And this I want to say is like when you're pricing your work, folks. When people
So I will cut in real quick with that to say that part of what, like you said, part of paying me to do the work, part of that is paying for the systems that I have set up for the issues that people typically talk about when they're working with artists, where there's a lack of communication, there's miscommunication, certain visions or certain guidelines aren't being met. Give or take, the artist didn't look at the brief or didn't have access to the brief because everybody's communicating via email and everything. I like have an actual project management software set up. I bring on the customer, potentially show them how to use it, where we set the dates in it. The dates have notes. We establish dates for feedback, where they are directly involved in the process, where we have to talk for this to come out the way that you want it to come out.
I have an added like a two revision rule. I have a two revision rule. Come up with a concept. The first thing is I call it the thumbnail phase,
Mm-hmm.
where I give the client the option to choose what they want to use. Right. Then I modify. Then I do a second thumbnail when I actually do the work on the video, especially video. This is what I do. I give it to the client. I get the feedback. Right. I get their feedback. I get their perspectives, their input, and then I give them one more pass. Right, one
Mm-hmm.
more pass to make sure it's good. Now, if we go past that point, they're paying me more money because what happens there is okay, we've done all the reasonable stuff, we've done all the communication, the back and forth, and that's the stuff that really that's where the input is, that's where the investment is, that's where the skin in the game is. When it's over, I'm anticipating that you will be like you'll be if not happy with the product, and the content will be to your liking because I've already talked to you throughout the whole process, right? If I yeah, because the lack of I have a client right now I'm doing blogs for. I have one more blog under contract for this month. That's getting done tonight, right? And then if I don't hear from them, I haven't heard from them in like almost 2 weeks. So they've kind of like disappeared off the ether. So I actually want to have a meeting with them to see what the hell they're doing. They're the only clients I have in the city. So it's doable. But the lack of communication at times is disturbing, especially with their own since they are giving me money for it and paying me, and I like having that process built in at the beginning, like all the way through, like if possible, because this is a collaboration and this is your baby, right? That's just how I see it.
Yes. I mean, there's nothing else to really add to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's just that's my way. Like I said, and when I was also talking about time, okay, how long did it take you to build your system?
shit, I don't know. It's been a ongoing test for years.
That's my point. Years. You've been working on this for a very long time. You've come up with a system that works for you. It's a system good enough that people are paying you for it. So when we're talking about paying for time, you're paying for the hidden work, the discipline you put into yourself day in and day out to create a system that works.
Of course.
Yeah. And that right. So sometimes the time you're paying for isn't just the time in front of you, but the time behind you as well. And I kind of want to say that to the audience because it's kind of a deal there. So yeah, you got anything to add to that, or is that everything I say makes sense there?
I mean, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah. So okay, so you have also been, if I'm not mistaken, right? Um, you've kind of just been keeping to yourself for the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, it could it could be egotistical,
A little bit.
but my thing is that I know once I as I have decided what I'm doing, what I'm sticking with for the long term, it's going to pick up,
Hmm.
and I will not be with myself as much anymore.
Ah, I see.
So
I I I I I I oddly understand it. I will have to I offer a counterbalance to it,
for sure.
right? And this is the thing. Isolation has peace, and I understand the value of wanting that peace, right? But if you are serving people for an extended and you know you're going to be doing it for an extended period of time, you're right, beyond just basic business acumen, you're going to have some kind of being open for dialogue. And if you isolate yourself for too long, you lose practice.
You know what I mean? Is that not what an entire pandemic was for?
No, like
Like,
I didn't lose practice. I actually got busier, right? I got busier because what ended up happening was I had all these people I knew say, "Hey, would you like to come on my show?" Oh my God, yes! I need someone to talk to. Just talk. My conversation skills are sharper than they were before the pandemic.
um, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm really concerned about anything as
No,
far as like I took the pandemic for a break
sure.
because I mean it was that and it was also will the world be any kind of will the world be especially different? It's somewhat different, but
Not really.
I mean as far as like people are more online now. People are more remote now. So there's been some adjustments. So that's just been my thing. I don't believe that I've missed anything.
Hmm. But like I said, my push, again, I'm not saying, listen, if it works for you, far be it for me to tell you what it is, what to do. But I have found that we're in the relationship business,
Mhm.
right? Right, which means that for our business to be the thrive the best, right? And once you're established and you got zillions of dollars, you can hire people to do this for you, and you'll find your time again, right? But you have to reach out to people to establish those relationships or keep establishing those relationships one way or the other, because again, you lose practice, right? Ideas and thoughts you have, right? Um, you have to find your audience, your crowd. Now, again, some people just communicate like differently too. Like maybe visually is how you best communicate, or maybe like you like showing, not telling.
Well, there's no like need for a concern. To me, I haven't lost anything. I needed the time that I needed time for.
Sure, sure.
But at the end of the day, it's yeah, you can get clients by having it does help to have clients by having a more active presence and everything. But that said, that doesn't mean I'm not talking to people in other
No,
ways.
no, 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 no.
So it
I get.
so I guess my thing is more so me keeping to myself has also been the way I've been doing business. I've been keeping to myself as well.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Like I'm not again. If it works for you, far be it for me to tell you what to do. The only thing because again, the way you mentioned this is you've kind of just been enjoying, for lack of a better term, you like your peace. I think is that fair to say?
Well, it's more so a matter of I had to know what peace for myself was.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that's why to me it's I have downtime. I've had downtime where I wasn't really pushing myself too much out there, really getting my voice out there and everything because I know it's temporary. I know
Sure.
after this, as I start putting out more, I don't know, thought pieces, because I've been doing that on LinkedIn, because I'm thinking I'll do that daily, but at least 2, 3 times a week where I have written pieces that I pair like visual work with, where I'm positioning myself as a cultural thought leader. Because I guess from previous experience, when I first got into freelancing, I know how quickly this stuff can build when you push it, when you put yourself out there, when you're doing a lot of outreach, when you're completing a lot of projects. My thing was because I've experienced that, but I experienced it doing work that I didn't really care that much to do.
That's
So
fair.
so it's like now I want to be more intentional about it, which is I care about making art. Yeah, it seems really basic. That's just like I just care about getting better, but it's there's I guess an entire context I don't really care to get into about how there are certain artists who I admire who the only way you can get the skills is literally by drawing. So it's like there's not much else to add to it, especially because there have been multiple instances where I've overcomplicated my life with too much thought, too much planning. When it's like literally to be great, I have to do the work, and there's not much else to say to it.
Eh,
So
eh,
it's like I'm not trying to be like an edge lord and super quiet, but
no,
it
no, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's not even. No, 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 no. I what I was really hoping to hear from you because again, you've been. I wouldn't say I would I would just say like I wanted to hear that passion, where your passion is, and in the last minute or two, I heard it loud and clear. And I think you're right. There's something to be said about like. So I mentioned this on my last podcast with Chris yesterday.
mhm.
I like my favorite one of my favorite authors of all time is C.S. Lewis,
Mhm.
and I compare him to Tolkien. Now it's not a fair comparison in some ways because they had slightly different approaches to what they were doing, right? But Lewis wrote and produced stuff all the time. Tolkien produced stuff, right? Tolkien produced stuff, not often. Again, can't argue with the results. I mean, Tolkien did get Lord of the Rings, right? But Lewis had Narnia. Lewis had, um, you know, Mere Christianity and all the books he wrote in there in that realm. He had Out of the Silent Planet. Those works he wrote in that realm. Like he was always active creating. He didn't worry about how good it necessarily was. He told his stories. Does that make sense?
Yes. That is, again, part of the simplistic manner of which I wish to live my life at the moment. So
Sure.
it's whatever. And I guess it's, yeah, there's lots of context of things that I don't say them until I feel it's necessary to say it. So when it comes to the visual projects that I work with clients, I'm always in charge. And it's, I guess, when I encounter people who talk about bad experience with clients, typically I have not had bad experiences with my clients because I know that my leadership is required to help get their ideas clear, which I don't think I think maybe when it comes to designers or when it comes to just a certain level of art service provider, it's that's the job. Is it's not just my artistic vision. I I already signed that away when I offered it as a service. So,
No. I also get the impression though that you have a very low bullshit tolerance.
well, and I think it's like saying that it's not an energy that really gets transmitted. It's literally like, I don't know. I'm just I want my service, as I've been like evaluating things up until now. Like I want my service to be, it's a little creative playground for the client. So it's like, think about what the most recent design I'd finished is like some blue lady with four arms. Why does she have four arms? Because whatever. I thought this would be super spiritual and cool. Well, the client's like, "Ooh, this is great." I'm like, "All right, great." Like,
Well, I mean, I think the best part is sometimes you'll have a vision of what you, like. I know this when I've collaborated with artists for even my books, right? I'll have an idea of how it works, how I think it's going to work, and then they're going to be like, no, this, and then they'll come up with their own ideas. They'll be like, that's better. And sometimes I'll input like an idea here and there, but I let the artists go because they'll come up with they're creative people in their own right. So why get in the way of that creativity?
I mean, but that's the point of offering a service. It's a service.
Yeah, but see, I'm being smart. This is the thing, right? I
Well,
know
I
like
mean, because at the end of the day, they need money and they don't know how to make money. Like for me, I can be straight up. I don't know how to make money. I don't know how to make as much money as I can with client work just by selling my own stuff.
it's actually so I know the answer to that, but it's not a sexy answer. It's not
Yeah,
a
like
sexy.
at the end of the day, like it still requires work. So doing the doing the client work, I mean, it's also that it just has, again, it's a strategic play.
Sure.
It's, I get to build a relationship with somebody who they are going to be, I'm doing art for them, but it's still my work that gets shared. I get access to their audience. They introduce me to people, so then I have a warm lead that I'm potentially doing more work for. So
Exactly.
it's like, that's the bigger picture of the client work. And I mean, yeah, as you say, it's not even that, like I say, I have a no bullshit tolerance. It's that I'm just so pleasant and people like working with me. So
Also, you no, no, I like you're like it sounds to me like when doing business with you, there'd be no punches pulled. You just like, this is the job. This is what I think. And then I go, this is a job. This is my vision. You're like, cool. You go, you do something, you come back. What do you think? Now, again, could probably, and this is something I've learned. Price point's a big key to this. Ironically enough, the lower your price point, the less invested your client's going to be in with you. The higher the price point you can set, the more the client's going to be invested in the results they're going for.
Depends on the size of the company.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, um, yeah, everybody I've worked with has been pretty invested in what, they're paying for, because I mean, to them, the price was high. To me, it's if I worked with like a multi-million-dollar brand, this would be nothing. But it's like,
But your charge there would be higher because you
yeah,
have
it's like I would be charging higher, but it's still like, I'm building that relationship. And the people who had come to me, like, other than the most recent client, I connected with her through Clubhouse. Three of my clients have been people who reached out to me out of the blue. And again, it wasn't for, even at the time, I wasn't overtly like, I kind of was like, oh, I'm offering art services. But really, they came to me with specific tasks. And that's why, again, I've considered, like, I was playing around with niching and just doing merchandise, but it's also, I don't know, I can't say that it pisses me off. I think it's some old programming I gotta let go of. But pretty much people come to me with projects and I'm just like, I have no idea how the fuck to do this, but I gotta figure it out. That's all that matters.
I understand that a lot. I understand that one a lot. A lot. I get that one 100%.
Like, yeah, it's just the excitement of it, of like,
Well, it's like you get to be a kid again because it's like I don't know what I'm doing. Oh man, this will be fun, right? And by the way, I think that's a fantastic perspective. Now, as you get older, you have to put. Here's what you got to do, right? Like this is something I've realized. You got to put that kind of thinking in the hobby section, right? Or you keep because again, it's part of who you are, and you're having a blast. Cool. You limit yourself to like 2 or 3 of those projects a year, right? And then after that, if one of those projects comes up, here's what you got. You go to the universe. You go to the universe. Okay, if this is for me, what price is this actually worth? Like now, it's like a financial investment on top of it. Now,
what, man, it's already happened.
yeah, that's what I do, right? Like I give
Like,
myself I give myself a rule of 3. I'll do a collaborative project. I'll do 3 collaborative projects or 3 projects that are just they're random. They're not necessarily what I do, but they're random. And I will let myself be put in those situations because again, they I like mine's like you. I like having fun. It's fun to try something new and learn something. 2, right? It's a
well, so I will say that I think that it's low key what's baked into my my pricing. So, because at this point the pricing is kind of based off of value.
Mhm.
So the one base price, it may always be a couple $100 because it's promotional work. It's visual assets. So it's promotional work in
Yep.
that you are not going to put on merchandise. You're not going to do anything with it to make money. All you're doing is doing it for whatever project. You need the visuals, blah, blah, blah. Then when we get to the next tier, that's when it's about double, if not more, the price, because you can generate a revenue off of it. You get a licensing fee with it. You get some more, touch points between being intimate with the project, making it line up with your vision. And then the next price up is like for, I'm still playing around if I'm going to do like murals. I am attracted to doing it. Like, I have painted one before, but potentially doing it digital and getting it printed. So I may do that. But yeah, the price points are based off of the value. So like last year I had this guy reach out to me. He'd been following me on Twitter for however many months. And he reached out to me to do like some character designs and then to do like some storyboard frames. And I'm just like, all right, well, this is animation work. This isn't really a business related work.
or comic work minimum. It's
Yeah,
on
it's like it's more, that's not the kind of work I was looking for, but I'm interested. So I took the job. So, I mean, that's why I'm like, again, why I'm not so, right now, I'm not going to niche because I was leaning towards niching, like I said, the merchandise and packaging. But now I'm kind of just open to anything. But I have these three starting price points that pretty much still capture the same system of how we need to work together, what rights you have for the images, and stuff like that.
gotcha, gotcha. So basically,
I
you're
mean,
like,
I guess all that to say and lump it together is, if I hadn't already said, I view art as intellectual property. You can make money off of IPs. So that is why I think of it as, again, as a business,
mhm.
as a business solution. I don't think it takes away from the art. I mean, classics, at the end of the day, classics, when it comes to music, any type of art, is still generating income. It's still known hundreds and thousands of years after it was originally made. So that's how I view working with me.
Oh yeah, because you never know. I mean, I finally saw the Stranger Things running up that hill stuff. Running up that hill is older than I am,
Exactly.
or very close to it. God, I might be older than running up that hill.
And
I'm
I
old.
think like what the Nike logo was made for $60,
Yep. Oh yeah, big time. Like
and
low.
that woman doesn't have any rights doesn't have any rights to it.
Oh man, like we go back to like the 80s and 90s, like the 80s or earlier. Some of the artists and the rights they could have had and the living they could have made doing some of this shit. Oh man, like yeah, it's important to be a good businessman or woman in this industry because there are so many potential pitfalls, right? And I've learned this. So yeah,
Mhm.
it just yeah, anything you make is a potential to make money in ways you may not imagine, right? So
Yeah, like I'm still blown what, cuz I don't watch TV like that, so I don't keep up with ads or whatever. So HBO Max that I have now has ads. So I've been encountering ads with like certain hip hop songs that I guess are probably singles or whatever. But I'm just like, yeah, they're getting paid off of this. You're getting paid, like every time you hear any type of mainstream song in a movie, they're getting paid for it.
yep,
Like it's the, yeah, it's just the perpetual nature of work. And when what I was looking at templates for contracts to work with people, most of the contracts were even written in favor of the person who was getting the work, where they get to have the rights to everything, the sketches, all parts of the process, the original files, and everything. And there's no type of money discussion on the part of the person that they're buying the work from.
yeah, oh
So,
yeah, yeah. It's quite big. Charles Delint, as an author, before the ebooks and stuff got marketed and stuff like that, right? They used before they were as a prize packaging. Delint actually was able to keep all his electronic book rights.
mhm.
It's one of his biggest sources of income. A lot of authors don't have those rights when they go to publishers.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking to prevent.
Yo, Well, yeah, you gotta like. I actually think like a thriving artist is a very important part of the world. Like starving artists are commonplace and far more commonplace than they should be. I would rather like everybody that's creating is thriving, whatever niche or style of art or whatever. Like, and I think it serves the world that artists make money doing what they're doing.
Yeah, there's just I think it's just a bunch of mind games at the end of the day. It's that doing art, it doesn't get you paid if you don't know how to sell it.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's going to be the case with anything that you pursue in life, is that if you're not following the traditional path, there's still people who've done similar. So I will overtly, like I always try to be as transparent as possible. I've definitely made my life difficult because I don't completely follow directions, because I also want to just know from my own human experience. So
Sure.
I think that is worth measuring what I look. I gathered this whole pile of books. I'm reading The Creative Act, A Way of Being. I just started reading that today. But then Do Nothing and Do Everything is a Taoism book. Real Artists Don't Starve
Hmm.
is another book for, like you said, making a thriving living as an artist. There is You Are a Badass at Making Money, to work through any
Damn
money
right.
blocks.
Damn right I am.
And that's just how I want to feel. Like I said, clearly that's what I'm bringing to the art services that I'm offering. It's like, after I'd worked with one brand, and this woman had like called it pretty pictures, and I don't know, it was just really, I felt I had a very patronizing reaction to the work that I'd done. And I'm just like, okay, you know you can look at nice things and be an adult, right? So so that's kind of like what helped push me in this direction. Is just like, I don't know, I just feel like as we get older, I'm sure this is going to be changing as millennials get older. But I just feel like people feel like the older they get, the more miserable they need to be. Or
Oh,
they
I've gone the opposite way. I look at it this way: if it doesn't make me happy or give me an orgasm or isn't something.
you're frozen.
Or isn't
You
something I love to do. Yeah, no, I did. I came back. Okay,
okay?
so
You're
I
back
came
now.
back. So I don't know what happened there, folks. Just my connection just said, "Hey, hey, I don't exist." But now I'm back. I'm back. Okay. So what I basically said is, if I at this point in my life, if I'm not happy, like if I'm not happy, if I'm not getting an orgasm out of it, if I'm not loving what I'm doing, I'm out. I'm just out because I'm too old to care about what the rest of the world. There comes a wonderful point in life when you just come to this realization that, so when you're young, you think you have to care about everybody else thinks. When you get older, you realize, like, you start losing that. Now you come to an age, or one day you just wake up and you realize, I don't gotta give a shit about what anybody thinks. I mean, anybody, and that's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful, 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 wonderful thing. And I've hit that point. So I'm doing what I want to do in my life. If I don't want to do it, I walk. I don't care. Right? I just don't care. Right? Life is too short. It's just way too short. It's way too short to the only way I'm going to tolerate misery of any kind is if I'm making so much money that I can find other ways to like find happiness. but also do other constructive things with that misery. Take that misery and make it something positive. If I can't do that, what's the fucking point? Most people settle for a existence that they don't really want, but yet they do want, and then in an odd way they do, because what happens is they get comfortable in it. They want the comfort of knowing. But in order to actually go out there and figure out what that actually is for you, you have to be willing to go out there and put yourself in uncomfortable places. That's just how it works. You have to you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. But if you're willing to do that, you can find what you're looking for, right? And I have learned that if, like, where me and you are like, I enjoy the unknown. So I'm like prepping for the next step of the podcast. I'm going to be on the road literally all the time. I'm going to be meeting people from all over both countries, because I'm too old to just wait and settle for things.
I guess my outlook is shit. I already forgotten what you were saying. So, I mean, what? It's just a very simple. I just want a very simple outlook, because it got me like thinking the past couple of days, when it's like, all right, I'm out of survival mode, and then what else is there?
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, what else is there? Um just chilling for a bit until I guess things pick up is my answer. But ultimately, just like I think it's also realizing that things aren't too bad. Things aren't too bad. And I say that as someone who keeps encountering people who keep talking like the world is on fire. And as if we're going through these catastrophic changes, when it's just like things are changing. There's new answers to how to live life. There's new perspectives on the things that weren't working. But you don't have to panic about it. I think that, yeah, you got to get the panic out of your system, freak out at some point. Definitely freak out at some point. But ultimately, like again, like you and I were freelancers. We're filling in these gaps for businesses. It's just like all this shit is made up. So you may as well commit your time to something that will be worth the time spent, at least just to you, which is, again, to me, which is just finding out about the ins and outs of drawing, because
No wrong with that.
there's so much to make.
Sure. So I'm gonna quote Jocko Willink. I do listen to podcasts, folks. One of them is Jocko's. I love it's a Navy SEAL's take on the world, and a really, really, really successful Navy SEAL. He's done a lot, but one of the things he goes is get after it. And I like, again, everybody has their own answers. I love simplicity. Simplicity, gratitude's a great thing. There's a lot to be thankful of. No matter where you're at in life, there's a lot to be thankful for. The fact that you're still here, that in itself is a reason to be thankful. The rest, and honestly, if most people, right, at least in this part of the world, if they looked at their lives honestly, most people don't have it that bad. Honestly, there are exceptions, but it's not a big list, right? So if you have it okay, right? Now the question is, what do you want? Like, that's what it comes right down to. What do you want in this life? It's possible. You're gonna look at some point the reality of the world we live in is going to hit you, and when it does, it'll rattle you. In my case, it was when I was 15. All right, at 15, I just kind of realized how the world is, and I see it a certain way, and And although it's evolved a little bit, I see the human aspect of some things a little bit more now than when I did when I was younger. I still see it relatively the same way. But in spite of all the good or bad things, the world's a beautiful place filled with possibilities every single day. And what you want is out there. You guys have to be, are you willing to become the person you need to be to get it?
And that's like what the mind trick behind it is. You're already the person.
You can be the person. I think this is the thing. You can be the person, but you also can be somebody else too. The real, how do I put this? About a few years ago, I came to this like epiphany. No matter whether we're in a good place or in a bad place, we're always doing what we want to do. The question is, are we being honest with ourselves? Are we self-aware enough to make that choice? Or are we letting those choices dictate our wants? It can be one or the other, right?
So to that I say, I mean, I don't think it matters too much.
Okay, this this is my only pushback. This is my only pushback on this. This is my only pushback on this. Grand scheme of things, you're absolutely right. It doesn't. But in your own personal journey, I think it does. And the reason I think it does is this. Is this is when it's our self-awareness. And right, because if we're making a conscious choice to do something, good, bad, or indifferent, but we want to do it, right? But we want to do it. We're making a definitive, conscious decision of the direction we're going in. If we are doing it because of an emotion, like maybe we're afraid of something, like I don't want to lose a friendship, so I won't have a confrontation of something we need to have a confrontation about. I'm probably still going to lose the friendship anyway, because I've made a decision that my fear is going to dictate where it's going to go. So
So to that I will say that can just be an individual experience.
it could be.
Like I think that we want a lot of things to be there to be a congruent understanding. But there's motherfuckers who've done less than we have and experienced way less than we have that have more than we do.
Sure.
So
No, no. But
I think there is like a not to cut you short, like there is of course that value in it. But ultimately you're gonna do what you want to do and the
mhm.
results that happen will happen. We're just not gonna know.
You can't. I just think of it as the old paradox to success concept, right? Is the paradox is okay. You can do absolutely everything right, absolutely everything you know what to do, and get a shitty result. Consequently, though, this is where I think I'm coming from, though. It's when you choose not to do those steps, you're guaranteed to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely did and even if somehow you luck into it, you don't keep it, right? Because what happens is since you don't have the steps nailed down, you even if you somehow luck your way in, it doesn't last, right? So I equate wants to that kind of concept. I like again we like it's about in an odd way mastering yourself. That doesn't mean I'm going to have every everything somebody else has. I mean, but honestly, I don't want any like necessarily to have all the things. If I wanted to have all the things, I'd already have all the things. But I also would be a very different person, right, than who I am. So going back to what I said at the very beginning, we have the potential to be anybody we want to be. There, I completely agree with you. But I think we have to choose. There has to be a moment of truth, a moment of choice, and we choose that path accordingly. And and the reason why I think having that want versus no, like that conscious want versus that unconscious want. If it's a conscious want, I think there's no regrets. If it's an unconscious want that you're following, I have seen those, a lot of those decisions, those usually end up with regrets. Again, you might be right. It might be just my personal experience. But, and again, there is some value of letting just go with the flow sometimes. There is value to that. But I remember, but I also keep in mind whatever my vision of where I want to go and who I want to be in at all times, because that's my choice. It's one of the only choices I have in this world. So I value that very strongly, and I try to be as honest with myself as possible about it, because that way I'm accountable, if that makes sense.
I gotcha.
Yeah. But if you have your own way of doing it and it works for you, mazel tov. I'm not, if what you got to go at the end of the day, whatever I say, whatever anybody else says, you got to figure out what works for you. And right? And who knows? And if you do come up with something completely better, let me know. Fuck.
I mean, I think there's certain parts of like our existence that it's the way you figure certain things out is not always going to be meant for everybody else to use.
Hmm. Oh no,
And
absolutely.
that's just a perspective that I've been adopting because I don't know, I've had this like underlying thought that with the things that I do, they need to be replicable or people need to know how to do them. And it's like, you know, I'm okay if I leave this. I don't think it was ever my plan for somebody to copy how I live life. And
I
I
agree with
think
that
that,
actually. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's what, when we talk about society and why, like lately, I don't know, I feel like there's this feeling that society is insidious and that it teaches us to do things that we don't actually want to do and be people we don't actually want to be when I mean, that's not to say that wasn't the intention, but I think for a baseline for a society, you need people who to have a direction. And if you don't figure out your own direction in life, that's what society is for you to pick something, you to do something, and you to be involved. But once you figure out your own path, sure you can make it so that it's replicable for other people, but it's also going to be aspects of your life that other people can't just do.
Or other people may not even want to do, and that's okay too. I'm here once. There's only one me. There's how I did things. And some people are gonna look at me as like that motherfucker's crazy, right? Then that's, and I'm good with that. Some people are gonna be like, I want to do what he did, and that'll be cool too. Some might say, I want to do what he did, but better. That's cool too. I'm not. I'm not. I am no. I don't worry. Again, at this point in my life, I'm not worried about how other people perceive me. I'm worried about my own happiness and my own journey. And that I feel that's the real secret to finding happiness. I don't think that it's a I think you need purpose, your own purpose. I think you need your own you got to figure out what works for you. I think that's part of being young. That's part of the trial and error process of it. At the same time, um, you have to believe in what you're doing. I think these are all things that are necessary. But what you have to realize somewhere along the way, and I think this happens to us all, is that the world is bigger than we are. And our own way of doing things may only just be for us. And that's not a bad thing, actually.
For sure.
So, Miss Elena, so I got two more questions and we'll wrap this bad boy up. So I got to ask you, what is the Elena verse? I have to ask. I've seen your intro, Elena of the Elena verse. And I gotta ask, what is it?
It's my existence.
The Lanaverse? Okay.
I mean, every person. I think that's just a fundamental fact of existence. Every person has their own world. Everybody is their own main character.
That's right. I agree with that.
So, I guess I'm willing to do it publicly.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, sometimes I'm the hero of my own story. Sometimes I'm the villain. I've learned that I can be both, and I'm okay with being both. Actually, I make an okay villain, right?
I
If you
don't.
see if you see a one poster with me when I turn 50, just remember what I said here, and you'll be good.
Yeah, I don't view myself as a. Well, I guess I would view myself more as a hero than a villain, but it's more so just um I just want to see what happens.
Nothing wrong with that. So I guess the last question is okay. I'm going on the road, right? Eventually, I'll probably pop into your neck of the woods. In fact, I have an idea when I will be in your neck of the woods. So my question is this: would you like to do this in person?
Sure, we can.
Yeah, we can draw stuff. You can teach me. You can teach me what you've learned. I'll be your student, and you can be my all knowing, all powerful teacher.
Sure.
Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, it's possible.
It's possible. Okay. Well, anything's possible. Miss Leno, I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
No, just give me the time frame.
No, I mean, I will definitely. I will give you a time frame. We'll say in a couple months. I'll give you a time frame when I'm going to be in your neck of the woods, and we'll figure it out. But for this podcast, this interview, I think we got an interview here. What do you think? Unless you want to talk to me about something else we haven't talked about.
No, it's solid.
Yeah, it's solid. Did you have fun?
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to say one last thing. Thanks for everything. I want to say it here first and foremost. You've I don't know what I've done, but you've been following me for a very long time. I've been very for I don't know if it's worth anything, but I think it's awesome that you're doing what you're doing for you, and I hope it really works out. And I just want to thank you for your part and just supporting me throughout the years.
For sure, man. No, like what you do, how you present yourself is, you know, I was doing I've done like a couple campaigns for clients. So it's to have an example in front of me helps with selling the process.
Yes.
But yeah, like what I'm doing is to me it's inevitable. So I'm anticipating that it will succeed. And by the time you get here, you'll find out the results.
Okay. So you said you weren't the hero of your story. You did just quote Thanos. I'm teasing you. I am inevitable. But honestly, that confidence you have in yourself, that's a great thing. Don't lose it. It's amazing. So, if people want to find you to get your services and stuff, where can people find you to get your services and stuff?
So, particularly for the services, like I said, primarily have been focused on the cannabis psychedelics industries, but if it lines up and you want the help, fadedlane.com is where I have my services listed.
Can you spell that for me? Because I'm not a trained professional. I
I'll
know they
put
gave me an award for this, but I mean, I'm not always a trained professional.
I'll put it in the chat.
All right. Perfect.
So,
That is perfect. Do you
so
need
yeah.
the WW, or can it get there without there?
You can get there without there.
Okay, cool.
So fadedlane.com is my website for the details about my services, updates about the content that I am producing for that brand as an art provider. Um, Other than that, there is. I'll put this in the chat as well. Lainaverse.com, which is who I am, the Madam Lainaverse. So, like I said, everybody has their own existence, their own universe, and everything.
Absolutely.
My thing is, Lainaverse is just my platform overall for capturing the many arts that I am looking to mastering, such as what drawing, of course, doing business, selling things, also learning guitar, have guitar in the
I
background,
saw.
picking up on languages. But yeah, just mastering different parts of being a human because I do think that our lives can be masterpieces.
I think every life is, even the bad ones, quote unquote bad ones. All right, folks, let's do things in order here. I offer advertising services. If you have a project or you want to focus on a person, you can definitely click on the link there below if you want to do that. My advertising services are there. But if you want to know what I'm doing post 1000, it's already started. My first 2 episodes are currently up on my Patreon for $5 a month. You can actually see all the episodes as they air, well before anybody else does it. If you want to support the podcast in any way, shape, or form, you can do so there. It's my Patreon address. You can see here, patreon.com/justjoshingpodcast. Definitely check that out if you will. And that will do it for this week. I got some cool guests lined up next week. It'll be starting on Tuesday. I'm confirming them as we speak, so I will let you all know when and when they show up. But for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.